Era uma vez um partido americano chamado socialista. Em 1912, antes da Revolução Russa, surpreendeu o país e o mundo quando recebeu 6% dos votos na eleição presidencial e elegeu 1.200 candidatos em vários estados. A felicidade durou pouco. A Primeira Guerra e a Revolução Russa provocaram divisões dentro do partido, que enfraqueceu, mas ressurgiu na Grande Depressão e na organização de sindicatos, mas rachou de novo. Comunistas, socialistas e trotskistas não conseguiam uma convivência pacífica. Na década de 50, com a Guerra Fria e o macartismo, a esquerda foi perseguida pelo FBI e levada diante de comissões do Congresso. Sobreviveu, mas perdeu força de novo por novas brigas internas. A década de 60 parecia promissora com os movimentos anti-guerra do Vietnã, o feminista e o de integração racial. Mas a falta de foco, visão e unidade levaram à eleição de Nixon e a um longo período conservador liderado por Ronald Reagan. Hoje, onde está a esquerda nos Estados Unidos? No Congresso só há um deputado socialista. Por que a palavra socialista causa pânico? O que significa a eleição de Barack Obama para a esquerda? Perguntamos tudo isso a Naomi Klein, que vestiu fraldas vermelhas, dizem amigos e críticos. Naomi Klein ganhou projeção nacional quando publicou o livro No Logo, em 2000. Uma denúncia às grandes corporações, aos acordos comerciais e à globalização. Em 2008, repetiu o sucesso com The Shock Doctrine, The Rise of Disaster Capitalism. Uma condenação dos neoliberais que usam momentos de crise no país para transferir o dinheiro dos cofres públicos para os ricos.
Thank you.
I think maybe in Brazil we have a different notion of left and leftism. So help us to explain, because many people in Brazil think that there is not even a left in this country. And the question is there a left? Where is it? And where are you in this, in this political universe?
I'm Canadian,
Yeah.
so I come in and out of the United States, but I actually, even though I do most of my work here, I like not living in the United States. I think it helps me remember what's possible in a way, you know, that it is possible to have universal health care, you know, it is possible to have public support for the arts and things like this. But I think by Brazilian standards of the left, the left in the United States is extremely weak. And the reason why it's so weak is because it's really been a casualty of the Bush years, I would say. I think that before Bush was in office, we were seeing that there was an independent left emerging. If you remember the protests in Seattle 10 years ago. And that built, and the United States, not only was there a left, but it was a left that was more internationalist than it has been for a long time. Well, you know, what happened was, first of all, was September 11th. And you know, Americans are very prone to patriotism. But I also think it's important to understand, and I think Latin Americans understand this very, very well, is that, you know, when you have states that are using surveillance, torture, language, you're either with us or you're against us, it doesn't just affect the people who are specifically targeted. It sends a chill through the whole society. And that movement that I was a part of, you know, in Seattle, you know, in Genoa, that movement was afraid, became afraid to be associated with terrorism, became afraid of being accused of being anti-American. And while the rest of the world, and particularly Latin America, that critique of neoliberalism and these independent social movements continued to build, continued to grow stronger, and in some countries strong enough to take the government. In the United States, there was absolutely a McCarthyite atmosphere. And then there was a pretty strong anti-war movement. You know, once that sort of, after that initial fear ended and the invasion of Iraq began, you did see very, very large demonstrations, you know, against the administration.
You think that's the left? I mean,
well, no, even that's gone now. Now that's gone. Because then this sort of insanity set, not insanity, but kind of mania, which is, I think, really understandable, where people felt that the only thing that mattered was to get rid of Bush. Okay, well, how do you get rid of Bush? How do you get rid of the Republicans? How do you make sure that the next president isn't worse than Bush, isn't Sarah Palin, for instance? Okay, well, then you have to win an election. And I think that this is what's really happened in this country to the left, is that it became an arm of the Democratic Party, which is not a left party. But was the only way of getting rid of the Republicans. And this comes back to the 2000 elections, where this was after Seattle, this was after some of these very large protests. The discourse on the left, okay, that I was a part of at the time was, we don't like the Republicans and we don't like the Democrats. They're both corporate parties. We had shadow conventions at both of the Democratic and Republican conventions in 2000. Protested them both. I got tear gassed outside the Democratic convention in 2000, and most of us voted for Nader. Yeah. And when Gore lost, Bush didn't win. Bush was appointed, but then this new narrative came up, which was the left is to blame for Bush because the left supported Nader, the left was criticizing the Democrats. And enough people believed that it became like some sort of a crime to support a third party, to do anything but just help the Democrats to beat the Republicans. And that is what happened to the American left.
In this map, this ideological map here or in Canada, where do you fit it? Left, center, left of the center? Where is the center then?
Well,
and where are you?
I think I might be off the map. I hope I am, because I don't want to be on that map. No, I mean, I'm not, I have no interest in the Democratic Party. I think that the whole idea of what is acceptable to say in this country is so narrow, right? And this has to do, I think, with the particular kind of media that there is, so concentrated, so self-censoring, right? It's not a censorship that's imposed from the outside. But, for instance, discussing something like Israel, it's shocking to anyone else but the people living in this country that Obama's considered radical because he's telling Netanyahu he can't expand the settlements. He can't have more settlements in the West Bank. This is that's why I say I don't want to be part of this map, because it takes nothing to be accused of being a radical in this country. So
Israel, I think it's somehow a distortion on this whole discussion.
It's not just Israel. I mean, even saying that you think that every person in this country should have health care, that it should be free, that it should be provided by the government, you're a socialist.
Why, so many years after the Cold War, Americans are so much afraid of the word socialism?